Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a science fiction horror film, Pitch Black. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. Someday in the far future, the spaceship Hunter Gratzner is heading to its destination with passengers in cryostasis. While traveling in deep space, the ship's hit by some unexpected debris all of a sudden. The captain gets killed unfortunately, with only 2 crew members surviving. They find the ship is sent off its original course due to the accident, running out of control, and falling to an unknown planet. Laura decides to abandon all the ship's cargoes in order to slow down its speed and land it safely on the nearby planet. But it doesn't do much help to reduce the weight. Noticing that the ship's still at the risk of crashing, Laura, with no better choice, attempts to dump the passenger compartments, which would result in killing almost all the passengers. But right then the pilot guy stops her insane plan. After a long, violent vibration caused by the crash, the ship ends up landing on a wild planet, with several compartments destroyed and a few passengers killed. The pilot guy is fatally injured by a steel piercing through his body and dies soon beside Laura. Some people come to thank Laura for saving their lives, which however, embarrasses Laura greatly. Meanwhile, a notorious criminal also survives the crash. Despite his being confined firmly to the chair, he manages to free himself during the crash. Noticing the escorted criminal has escaped, the police officer warns everybody of the dangerous criminal Dick, who was a killing machine and responsible for many dead lives. To those survivors, their priority is to learn how to survive on this wild planet, which has 3 suns orbiting overhead. Right now, what they should really care about are the food and water, rather than the missing prisoner. With that borne in mind, people are subsequently divided into 2 teams. One team stays behind, keeping guard of the shipwreck and burying the dead, while the other goes to search the nearby area for water resources. The water team keeps searching until they notice some tree-like plants in the far distance. However, as they approach near, they only find a huge graveyard, covered all over with remains of dead animals. Not knowing what exactly happened on this land, the team continues their search until they reach an abandoned checkpoint, where they find not only some machine used to make water, but also a plane that seems still working. Meanwhile, the other team finds a cave while digging the ground to bury the dead. Driven by his curiosity, a man goes to check it out, but is soon dragged into the cave by some unknown living creature inside. Everybody is freaked out by his screaming. A girl gets there to check the man, but only sees the blood spilling everywhere. The girl encounters the criminal Dick later, but suffers no harm from him. The police officer, however, later traps down Dick and takes control of him by removing his sunglass, making him unable to make any resistance under the strong sunlight. Later, Laura happens to know Dick gets a pair of shining eyes, which is believed to result from the dark imprisonment he suffered for a long time. While being challenged for what happens to the man missing inside the cave, he only claims that he did not kill the man. But instead, he warns Laura of something more horrible than a prisoner hidden on such a wild planet. With a rope binding her back for safety, Laura goes into the cave to have a check. Moments later, she's horrified to find the bloody legs of the poor man. What's worse, the cave is haunted by some terrible creatures who hide in the dark and wait for their targets. Sensing the danger, Laura struggles and tries to escape the dark cave. However, the creatures drag the rope and come chasing her. Laura screams out and makes herself heard by a little boy. Fortunately, she's saved by the group in a joint effort. Learning that some mysterious and dangerous monsters may inhabit this planet, the officer comes for Dick and asks for his help in exchange for his freedom. As expected, Dick takes the decent offer. People take some tools and go to the checkpoint, but only find everybody there have been killed by the monsters. Later, as a little boy is missing, they spread out to search immediately, but only see his bloody dead body. However, with a basement spotted out and more dead bodies found deep at its bottom, they get to notice that these monsters, due to the fear of sunlight, hide in the dark and hunt for living targets. Because of that, the group changes the strategy and takes action only in the daytime. Meanwhile, after conducting some research on the samples, Laura figures out an eclipse would occur every 22 years on this wild planet, when a giant visiting planet would completely block the sunlight. That would be the last moment the group would like to see, since the eclipse would set free all the monsters hidden in the dark. The group becomes more anxious while learning that the next eclipse will happen soon, based on the record. They realize that they have to flee the goddamn place as quickly as possible. With that borne in mind, the group plans to retrieve the battery from the crashed spaceship, hoping to get enough power to start the plane found at the checkpoint. Before their departure, Laura learns that the officer is actually a bounty hunter who takes Dick just for money. Despite her anger and the officer's lies, Laura has to let that go first, for she knows the group's top priority right now. Later, in a joint effort, the group transports the batteries piece by piece. However, before all the batteries can be retrieved, they're astonished to find that the eclipse is happening. With sunlight blocked up gradually, flocks of alien creatures are swarming out of their cave and ready to launch their attacks. Without a better choice, the group has to retreat to the cargo compartments for shelter. However, Dick and a girl are left behind. Dick lies on the ground, staying still and thus surviving the attacks. The girl, however, is torn into pieces while running in a panic. What's worse, by the time the planet is submerged into total darkness, the real scary monsters show up in group from the dark hell. Only during that time, people realize that it's not that safe to stay in the compartment. For the next second, one man of them is taken and killed by the coming monster. Knowing that there's no safe place to hide, they decide to take all the remaining batteries to the checkpoint. They even carry the light belts to prevent themselves from the attack. In that way, they remain safe and cover a long distance through the darkness. However, a guy makes a mistake not long after that and causes a power outage to the light belt suddenly. While silent in the dark, one guy lights up the night with some liquor, but is terrified to find the scary monsters approach near and immediately take himself away. With a liquor torch, the rest continues to struggle their way through the danger, while the creatures keep following them tightly. Dick figures out something may go wrong, possibly because the monsters can smell their blood in the crowd. In fact, a girl is bleeding during her menstruation. Considering the girl a burden to the whole team, the officer demands Dick to kill the girl. Dick doesn't follow his order this time, but instead, he cuts open the officer's vest, causing him to bleed and lose his life to the bloodthirsty and rampaging creatures. The rest is horrified by the killing and runs for their lives in a great panic. During the following chaos, unfortunately, the coming rain nearly puts out the torch fire. The team loses another man to the monsters. Right at that critical moment, Dick instructs the remaining 3 to hide in a cave, while he races to the checkpoint alone, carrying those batteries. Thanks to his shining eyes, he successfully makes his way to the plane and gets the batteries mounted up. While he closes the gate and gets ready for departure alone, Laura shows up and begs him to take the people left in the cave. Despite Dick surprised by those survivors, who struggle to stay alive from attack by keeping shining bugs in the bottle, he tells Laura to fly away with him and don't go back to find them. Laura, however, insists on taking them back, for she's unwilling to sacrifice others just for her own life. Dick is deeply moved by Laura. He then returns to the cave and saves the other 2 real quick. Later, however, when the remaining 3 reach the checkpoint safely, they only find that Dick is missing. Believing that Dick must be stuck in the way, Laura heads to save him without any hesitation. She manages to carry the injured hormone guy back to the plane. However, to everybody's shock, Laura sacrifices herself to earn them more escape time by cutting herself to bleed on purpose, resulting in her being taken by the coming alien creatures. In regret of the loss of a perfect target for 6 and 9 hormone game in the narrow plane, Dick's enraged and fires the plane engine violently to bury tons of monsters as revenge for Laura, before leaving the goddamn planet and searching for humanity and hormonity in deep space. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Bye.